It's all about the sales tax revenue, and of course each beer just a couple of cents going into the city's coffers, but when you add it all up, of course it's going to be a potential windfall. We still don't have all the answers, but the evidence markers painted along the bridge here on Highway 103 start to tell the story. Things are reaching a fevered pitch in here. This is so much fuller, so much louder. Some seats do have them. These restraints are for kids with special needs, but most of the seats look like this one. Keep in mind too that it's not 6 feet that has to happen to make the difference. It can be just a couple of inches that are dangerous. They are already trying to fix up the hole in the building. And then meanwhile, over here on the loop, it is flowing. There were a total of 5 cars. To the officer, it just didn't add up. So he took the phone and then asked who was on the other end of the line. The scammer was bold enough to say he was a federal agent. Something can burn this completely and still generate useful leads for investigators. I mean, look at the fact that the radiator melted straight out of the bottom of that SUV. Both Aubrey and Devin had played a lot of games here in this gym, and when these stands filled up next season, they were both set to become stars on the court.
State senators are spending the night presenting amendments to House Bill 2, which includes some of the toughest abortion restrictions in the nation.
But there's still no vote tonight from lawmakers. CBS 19's Field Sutton is live at the state capitol in Austin, where many of the protesters still remain tonight, and it's getting heated there. Field?
Well, Justin and Jillian, I have to apologize to you because it is very loud in here, and I do not know if you've covered this yet, but there have been at least 7 arrests that we've seen in the Capitol building. It is all people who have been dressed in what appears to be something depicting an abortion, for lack of a better description. We've watched them be carried out, some of them refusing to walk even, and being carried out by several state troopers with their arms. Now, meanwhile, things are reaching a fevered pitch in here. This is so much fuller, so much louder than it was at 5 and 6 when we came to you. This is actually to the point we understand the fire marshal has shut things down and they're no longer letting people in from outside. Now, meanwhile, there are chants going on and on. There have been several attempts to clear out the Capitol. Those have been unsuccessful so far. People instead chanting things like, "We won't go back, we won't go back." Cheers go up from time to time. It's never really clear what those cheers are about. But the bottom line is we're still waiting on this vote that has been in progress since 2 o'clock this afternoon. We want to take a look at what things were like a little earlier today. All day, pro-life supporters of House Bill 2 went up against the pro-choice protesters right in the middle of the state capitol.
There's been a fire burning now, and it's only getting stronger, and people are really energized.
Despite word that the bill's eventual passage was a sure thing, people like Melina Batanova were determined to show the downside of tightening restrictions on abortion clinics.
Women who go to these clinics for a variety of services, not just abortion, they're going to be affected. They're going to lose all their services.
Would y'all like one of those Stand for Life?
Teens from Youth with a Mission came from East Texas to stand for unborn babies.
You may not want that life, but somebody will.
Their leader, Lori Harris, says the ultimate goal was to try seeing eye to eye with their opposition.
If this isn't an issue that needs unity, I don't know one that is.
East Texas Senator Kevin Eltife is in full support of the bill. He promised a comparatively quick vote, even if protesters tried to stop it.
I like to see people involved, no matter whether they're for it or against it. It's nice to see people come to the Capitol, get engaged in the process, and state their views.
Well, in case you have not been able to tell, we are now seeing almost all orange shirts. That is all pro-choice people protesting out here. We do not see very many blue shirts like we saw earlier, and it is entirely possible that they have gone home knowing that the passage of this bill is virtually assured. Now, we do want to let you know we've had reports earlier in the day of lots of things being confiscated from people, everything from feminine hygiene products to jars of feces. We have updated information tonight from DPS. They are standing by all of those claims. That is despite the fact that several different pro-choice groups are claiming that all of that is false and do not want to be associated with it. We are going to continue to monitor things here, and we will bring you the latest if anything happens during this newscast. Reporting live from the state capitol in Austin, Travis County, Field Sutton, KYTX CBS 19 News.
All right, thank you, Field. Again, those reports coming from DPS that have confiscated those. In fact, 18 jars of feces and 1 jar of urine were taken along with some other feminine hygiene products. To recap that, 7 arrests tonight at the Capitol. We will continue to monitor the situation for you. Now, Democrats concede there's really little they can do to stop the measure that would require abortion doctors to have admitting privileges at nearby hospitals, require abortions take place in surgical centers, and then ban abortions after 20 weeks.
Again, in all of this, still no vote. Just a lot of debate going on. This could carry into tomorrow. There are some reports pro-choice supporters plan to file a lawsuit, though, if the bill is passed. Tonight, CBS 19 investigates East Texas nursing homes. Of course, we trust them to take care of our loved ones at their most vulnerable times.
But what's really going on when no one's looking? CBS 19's Field Sutton is with us tonight. Field, you've been looking into these nursing homes for months. What you've uncovered is disturbing.
Yeah, you know, we started looking at them all the way back in January, and the good news is that most of them are doing a really good job of taking care of people. In fact, when you take a look at inspection records, there are some problems here and there, but one sticks out for being absolutely subpar, and state workers say even dangerous. Anyone who wants to see how local nursing homes stack up can go online. The Texas Department of Aging and Disability Services, or DADS, oversees safety for elder care. The agency's quality reporting system, or QRS, gives all nursing homes an easy-to-understand grade between 0 and 100. Statewide, the average is a 67.
Every 12 months, a surveyor goes out to do it.
DADS spokesperson Melissa Gale says those surveyors are strict.
And during those surveys, they're looking for compliance with all of the state and federal regulations. There are hundreds of them.
But we also wanted to know from nursing homes themselves why even a good operation can't seem to crack 75. As it turns out, nursing home administrators don't really like talking publicly about this. Our interview attempts were shot down. So we went in with hidden cameras and asked why nursing homes frequently get scores that a high school teacher would consider failing.
In order to get a number like that, a really high number, you would not accept any patients with wounds. If you have a sore, it's counted against you. Even if we didn't cause it, it still counts.
That's coming from a nursing home that usually scores high. Their point was basically caring for people in failing health will always carry a certain risk, and perfection just isn't possible. But on the other end of the spectrum is Tyler's Melrose nursing home. Across all the East Texas counties, it's the only one we found that scored a 0. We wanted to know why, but the administrator there was not interested in answering questions.
Well, I don't think I can say anything. I wish I could.
Why can't you say anything?
Because I'm not the owner, and I think that's who you need to talk to.
Okay. When we pressed for answers, she admitted there were problems.
But I was just brought in to clean things up.
Months later, an open records request produced hundreds of pages of documents. Everything DADS had on record about Melrose, which is legally called Eastwood Care, one of the many names in a chain dating back to the 1990s, during which the facility constantly changed hands. Looking through the records, the problems at Melrose start making sense. One report says a resident was placed in restraints with no physician order or medical justification. She told the surveyor she was being kept in that unit against her will. And she wasn't the only one. The report says 16 people were at risk for being restrained against their will for staff convenience. Around the same time, one of the employees reported to the registered nurse on duty that one resident had raped another one. According to the report, workers knew the rape victim lacked the ability to say yes or no, and yet the RN who was told did nothing about it. The police informed the Melrose administrators that the man who did it was a registered sex offender. Several months later, another surveyor from DADS had to intervene when he said staff neglect came dangerously close to killing one of the patients. The surveyor found her in the fetal position and virtually unresponsive. According to the report, she had been found vomiting green bile with no follow-up from staff. Later, they found her trying to eat out of a trash can, but there was no evidence anybody intervened. It turned out she'd lost 10% of her weight in 6 days, and no one noticed. And that's just a selection of the worst problems from reports, filled with cases of human fecal matter in places it's not supposed to be, and all sorts of things covered in black and brown slime.
These were serious deficiencies with this facility, and they were deficiencies that could affect the quality of care and in some cases could even put residents in jeopardy.
Gail says over and over again the people at Melrose were required to come up with plans to correct all the horrible things happening there. And letters to the facility obtained by CBS 19 show just how many chances they got. Starting in July of last year, then October, November, and December.
There are a lot of chances to come back into compliance with the regulations, but DADS does not hesitate to take action and hold these facilities accountable for their actions.
By January, the agency was fed up. DADS revoked Melrose's ability to take new residents. For now, the nursing home can no longer receive Medicare and Medicaid money, which is often the biggest source of income. Melrose also racked up $125,000 in fines, although workers there claimed a financial hardship and had that bill cut down to $11,000. And finally, a company called Western Care out of Arlington lost its license to run the nursing home. But that doesn't mean Melrose is shutting down.
Yeah, they've already issued a new license for a new operator coming in and taking over the facilities.
Using tax records, we tracked down one of the California men who's involved in the ownership of the nursing home. He told us he'd already gotten a company called North Creek Healthcare to take over.
Yeah, no, they do have a plan there. Let me, I can have somebody that's more knowledgeable about this stuff get back with you.
Our question was simple. What's the plan to make sure none of this ever happens again? No one from the company ever called.
They have been granted a 90-day license, and so we will be keeping a very close eye on that facility.
If nothing gets better in 90 days, Gail says things could get worse for the nursing home.
Closing a facility is the last resort because it does put people in such upheaval. These residents are very vulnerable. And sometimes you're talking about relocating them to a facility that's out of their town where their family members can't come visit as frequently as they would like. And so it is the last resort. But we also have to make sure in the end that residents are protected.
It is a fine line that they walk. We have been checking out North Creek Healthcare, trying to figure out what kind of history the company has with troubled nursing homes. It turns out the company has never been involved with any Texas nursing home. Records kept by the state show that the company was just incorporated last month. All those records trace back to the same small town in California that the nursing home's main owners list on their company records. What is still not clear, though, is what link there is there, if any. We're still trying to figure that one out.
New on CBS 19 News at 6:30. Maybe you're tired of the stress that comes with Christmas shopping. Maybe you just can't find that one last gift. CBS 19's Field Sutton recently discovered Santa's workshop right here in East Texas. No parka needed.
Over the river and through the candy cane to Santa's toy shop we go.
It serves the purpose. I love working in it. And here we are.
Nearly every day.
Let me pick out some wood here.
You can find Winford Stone behind his workbench.
So I come down here, I cut and I glue, and I go to the house and have a cup of coffee.
Between those cups of coffee, this workshop is one in a million.
I mean, it just everybody that's works at wood builds furniture.
So after retirement, that's why Stone decided to build toys, mostly for his grandson.
Made a few little toys for him, and he just caught on from there and grew.
It started with one simple car and just grew.
Kept getting a little braver every year. I'm going to have to cut it down a little bit.
Now Stone builds bulldozers, planes, and trains, especially trains.
Every one of them turns out a little different because I don't use a pattern. I just look at a picture and make it.
One car after another, he makes something special from almost nothing.
This one's already finished. I can put the wheels on it.
What's amazing is he's never considered himself particularly skilled. Instead, Stone will tell you this is just his relaxation, a hobby he hopes will never start to feel like work. Still, he knows putting up the Santa sign means Christmas could be a little busy.
I may have some customers Christmas Eve.
Just never know.
Never know.
So if you want an old-fashioned toy without all the gadgets, just step inside, look past the sawdust, and you might be surprised.
It is, yeah. Santa's toy shop.
In Mount Sylvan, Field Sutton, KYTX CBS 19 News.
He is skilled. Now, there's only one toy inside Stone's workshop that's not for sale. It's a Van ISD school bus that he made for his 50th high school reunion. Everything else, though, is a ready-made Christmas present.